Without me saying anything to him, he looked at me, put his hands up and said, "Dude, I saw it too." The pulse in my head happened again.
Wow. All right, so is that the end of that one? Okay. So I also get like those pulsing sensations in my head. I thought it was like a pinched nerve. Is it I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more.
As a Reiki master, I can tell you what I think it is.
Oh, what is it?
And it would make a lot of sense. It's your third eye and your throat chakra are trying to connect, but there's a block between them. Your third eye would be the best way to see a ghost.
Oh, so it goes like right up this part of my head right here.
Yeah.
And it
would start like at the base of your hairline.
Yeah.
And would go right up to where your head like hits out the most in the back.
Okay, yeah. Because it stops right here. And it's like incapacitating.
Damn.
Like there have been times that I like fall to the ground because it hurts so much.
You're blocked up. Go see a Reiki practitioner. Might I suggest the ones that open doors?
They're close to me.
They sure are. The second is more involved and took place on my family vacation to the Bruce Peninsula in Canada. In 2015, my brother-in-law was getting married, and he is from Ontario. My wife and her siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, all grew up on the Bruce Peninsula, which is just out into Lake Superior. We had rented a house on Sauble Beach, which is a small resort community on the lake side of the peninsula. My family had gone ahead of me and were there for a week before I got there. On their third day, I got a call from my wife saying that I should bring my ghost gear with me because my brother-in-law's girlfriend had been hearing steps in the hallway at night, and when she would check it out, everyone else was still asleep. On top of that, she also thought she had heard voices. My oldest son, who at the time was 8, was also having a really hard time sleeping in the downstairs family room with the other kids. He had told my wife that he had seen a shadow moving against the wall. I thought this could just be lights and trees coming through the window. When I left for Canada, I nonetheless still packed my K2 and my voice recorder. God bless you. When I got there, the house was booming with people. In the house was my wife, my 2 boys who were 8 and 4, my sister-in-law and her 2 boys who were 3 and 5, my brother-in-law and his girlfriend and their daughter who was 2 at the time, and the groom-to-be and my wife's mother. The house was very large, 6-bedroom split level, with all rooms on both floors occupied. Nothing happened that weekend except a beautiful wedding and a fun time with some family. But then everyone left except for myself, my wife, and my kids. We moved all of our stuff into the 2 bedrooms upstairs. About 2 nights in, my wife and I had put the kids to bed and we were in the entertainment room having some wine and just relaxing and talking with each other when we both heard footsteps coming down the hall. I got up to get the child who I was sure was there, but to my surprise, no one was there. I went down the hall to check on the kids, and they were both out like lights. So I went back. About an hour went by, and we heard it again. This time my wife got up to check on the kids, and I went to our new room and grabbed my gear. I started with the K2 in the hallway, and except for a spike or 2, there wasn't anything going on with it. I started to do an EVP session in the entertainment room. My wife stopped me. She said, "How about we just leave it be?" So I turned off the recorder, but just kept the K2 on the coffee table. Nothing happened the rest of the night. Our last night at the house, we had an old friend of my wife's and his girlfriend over for drinks. Okay, a lot of drinks. They were Canadian. I put the kids to bed, and we all went out to the back porch to talk and, well, drink. As the night went on, first the girlfriend went to bed, and then my wife went to check on the kids and never came back, which left me and my wife's friend to hang out for a bit. I eventually carried him to his bed, it was a couple of drinks, and then went to check on my wife and kids. They were all sound asleep in a puppy pile on the queen-size bed. I didn't see a spot to really squeeze in, and after a shake or 2, I realized my wife was comatose, so I went to our room at the end of the hall. The room we cleaned for ourselves was right next to the bathroom, which made it funny to me that we also had a master bath in our bedroom. I laid down to a slightly spinning room and went to sleep. I woke up about 3:30 and heard a creak. I noticed that the bedroom door was open. I thought I had shut it, but I was also pretty drunk when I came into the room, so the possibility of me not shutting it was definitely there. And the other thing that occurred to me was that someone had woken up and was looking for the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom, so I got up. I went to the door and opened it, but I didn't see anyone. So I shut it again and turned to walk towards the bathroom. As I walked towards the bathroom, I heard the door creak. I looked over and nothing, although it was slightly more closed. I took 3-ish more steps and creak. I looked, it was open a little more. I got a weird pulse in my head. I get it occasionally, and it seems to be there when something odd is going on. I quickly stepped to the bathroom and went in, turning on the light. When I came back out, the bedroom door was wide open. I went over and looked again, and no one was there. I shut it and went to bed. I was really spooked at this point. I looked at the window, hoping that it was open, that maybe the breeze was moving the door. No. That's when I heard the footsteps down the hall. I called out to my wife, asking if it was her. Nothing. I heard the footsteps again, and they were coming towards the door. The door opened slightly again, and I just froze staring at it. This time, I effing saw it. Then the door shut just a little again, and then it swung wide open and wham! Slammed shut. I went into full 4-year-old mode and literally hid under the covers. I heard the footsteps go back down the hall, and then I was terrifyingly awake the rest of the night, but nothing else happened. About 7 a.m., my wife came into the room and slipped into bed beside me. She felt how on edge I was. "What's wrong?" she asked. I relayed my story. In the morning, I asked everyone if they had gotten up in the middle of the night, and no one had. I asked if anything weird happened to anyone else, and nothing had. I guess it was all just for me. Thanks, Tom. Good story.
Yes, Tom. I was frightened listening to your story.
Yeah, spooky.
Spooky. You say in your story that you saw it, but are you referring to you saw the door moving, or did you see whatever it was that was making the door move and making footstep noises?
You said you felt a weird thing on your head. Was that the same as in our last story?
Yes, that was that same spiking,
Yeah.
like horror. I know exactly that pain that he's talking about too. It's terrible. Oh, and to think that like it's happening like somewhere that's not your house, like that's even scarier. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really spooky.
Don't tell Bobby that happened. He already hates going places. If he thinks that there's a possibility that other houses might be haunted, he'll never leave our house again.
Well, thanks, Tom. That was really, really nice. And I want to know where you're a paranormal investigator, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a K2.
Yeah.
Most people don't have a K2 meter.
Okay, next one's one from a good friend of the show.
Oh, is this a Will Fox?
It's Will Fox.
This is a Will Fox. All right. Hey, guys. Happy Halloween. So obviously I have a lot of stories, but one of my favorite experiences has to be when we took a trip out to Lake George in New York. Long Island paranormal investigators rented out a few campsites for an extended weekend, and we tent camped there. The campgrounds itself is part of the Lake George battlegrounds from the French and Indian War. Without giving a full-on history lesson, the battlegrounds hosted a battle between the British, reinforced by about 200 Mohawk warriors, and the French on September 8, 1755. The battle resulted in a British victory. So, since there was a war and people died, obviously it's haunted. So fast-forwarding through the daytime hours spent smoking cigars and grilling countless pounds of hamburgers, steaks, hot dogs, ribs, etc. over the open fire. Sorry, not sorry, Amelia.
Hey.
We eventually got to investigating the battlegrounds. One spot on the battlegrounds has a pavilion-type area with a stone canopy and picnic tables. The pavilion's perimeter features a 4-foot stone wall that surrounds the picnic tables, except for the front entrance. So there were about 6 or 7 of us investigating that night, and we were all spread out among the pavilion's picnic tables doing an EVP session. For visual's sake, I was sitting in the far right corner of the pavilion as you enter it. My back was to the corner of the pavilion, so there was nothing but the stone wall about 5 feet behind me. While doing the EVP session, another investigator took a flash photo. During the flash, an investigator sitting straight across from me noticed something crouched behind me. "What the?" were the exact words, I believe. As I was about to reply, I felt a strong hand grip my right shoulder and squeeze. Knowing there was absolutely nothing behind me, I bravely sat there and kept my cool. LOL, JK. I jumped up and hopped forward a good 20 feet. At least that's what it felt like. Of course, when I turned around, there was nothing and nobody there. The first thing we debunked was the flash causing a shadow to project onto the wall behind me, causing the investigator in front of me to see a shadow. This wasn't possible due to the angle the photo was taken. A shadow from the flash would have projected onto the wall to my left, not behind me. and of course could not debunk me feeling a hand grip my shoulder. Needless to say, we were all a bit shocked at this, since not only did I feel a physical touch of something not there, but another investigator also saw it. So yeah, that happened. Oh, and also, I've been touched every time I've sat in that same spot. Spooky, but not frightening anymore. So there's my story. We're still trying to figure out why it seems to keep happening to me, or if that spot has any significance. The pavilion is a modern addition to the park, so that probably means nothing. Any whoozadoo. Love you guys. Can't wait to share more experiences I've had. Will Fox.
Thanks, Will. Good story.
Thanks, Will. We love those stories where creepy things reach out and grab you in the night.
Yeah.
Especially when you're with a bunch of your buddies, and you're especially good at trying to debunk all of the things that go wrong. Do I see the name of a famous town on this next one?
Yes. In my mid-20s, I lived in a cute, historic apartment in downtown Salem. The apartment had beautiful details, hardwood floors, crown molding, a fireplace, built-in shelving in the kitchen, and even a small elevator in the back hallway, which likely had been the original servants' quarters. It was part of the town known as the McIntyre District because the architect who designed the homes. We had a plaque near the front door indicating that the home had been built in the late 1700s. The front of the home contained the original wrought iron fence, posts to tie up your horses, and foot scrapes on the stoop to remove the mud from your boots. When I first moved in, I'd often feel movement at the foot of my bed while I was settling into sleep. At the time, I just assumed it was my imagination. I left a pet cat at my father's house, and I thought I was just feeling phantom movement as a reaction to missing him. Later, I adopted my own cat. She made a favorite spot in the kitchen where she'd sit and stare at the wall for hours on end. My roommate and I would often get in silly little fights because items being moved. Candles would blow out. We'd leave the kitchen and come back into open cabinets. More than once, we'd come home and the front door would be open. He'd always said he'd heard the apartment was haunted, but we'd still end up just assuming the other person was causing the mischief and would often bicker about it later. When he moved out, though, the mysterious behavior continued. I no longer had a roommate, but I couldn't deny that I was not alone in this house. My friends and I started calling our friendly ghost Casper. Ghosts are famous for being able to affect technology, and Casper was now loving to play with the lights in the hallway. One time I had 2 friends over, and we had just started a movie. The movie suddenly switched to an old black and white silent film. We watched it for a while, thinking this is a strange part of the movie. But when it didn't go away, we tried to pause it, change the channel, anything to get our movie restarted. Nothing would work, and the old silent movie kept playing. We had to unplug the entire TV to get it to stop. Eventually, my landlord sold the building, and my rent went up so significantly that I had to move. As I was packing and preparing, the ghostly activity picked up in a major way. The regular behaviors increased in frequency. But there was also an air of distress in it. I suspect the poor Casper didn't want me to move. One night I was sitting alone in my bed watching TV and I felt movement at my feet. I assumed it was my cat and turned to pet her. As I turned, I watched the pillow next to me indent to the shape of a human head. This is where I drew the line. I jumped up and told him to leave. I told him I didn't mind sharing my apartment with him, but he was not welcome in my bedroom and certainly not in my bed. I spent the night awake on the couch anyway. I decided I wanted to try to communicate with the spirit to see evidence of the spirit. So I would often talk to him and ask him to show himself in photos. I had a whole camera full of photos of orbs and weird flashes of light in my apartment. One time, a water bottle sitting on the table began to rock back and forth, and as soon as I brought the camera up to try to capture it, the camera malfunctioned and shut down. There are photos of what look like faces in the mist hovering above my couch. There are photos of sunny rays and light beams coming from between my curtains, even though they were taken late at night. Unfortunately, I can't find the photos anywhere. My camera has long since broken. I never did discover the identity of my Casper. I looked up the history of the house, and I know the man who owned it had been involved in a murder trial at one point, but it was to testify as a witness. Perhaps he was a disgruntled servant, an old family member who was tied to the home, or any number of things. Looking back now, I think he felt to me to be a young man, and I don't think he wished me harm in any way. Someday, I'd love to go back and see what I can get a feel for it. I'm Jamie Day. psychic medium Jamie Day, good friend of the show.